And welcome back to another Third Age Reforged battle. As you can see, we have Apollo the Great leading the dwarfs, defending this town with his lovable ally, Shagoth of Dale. Yeah. I mean, I've just been trying to do essays and that, just trying to keep on top of coursework, and this is a rare time for me because I'm actually able to make stuff again before I start hitting the coursework again. So I'm aiming to get this video done before I start any more coursework. So let's get started, shall we? So first we're going to start off with the army comps for, well, Mordor and that. I'm just going to increase the speed a little. If you haven't noticed, these are different graphics and the lighting is different. I'm using something called Moderator to make it so I'll put a link down below for you guys. So first we have Sir Casualty leading Mordor. In his army we have 4 units of Uruk archers. These are rather heavily armored archers. They'll do better than the average orc. Still die in droves. Meanwhile, orc fodder, as you can see, already dying in droves. Yeah, orc fodder is just even better, because they're actually meant to die. And then we have some Uruks. These are Morannon Uruks. They're a lot more different. These ones are stationed on a black gate, so they have a lot of experience, hence why they look battle weary and battle armored. I say that, then we actually move on to the actual Uruks, who are suffering some arrow fire from the Dalesmen. Dale very renowned for his bows, and the orcs not so well renowned for their armors. Not a great combination for Sir Casualty. He will be taking a lot of graves today. I'll tell you that. His own men will be filling them. We have 3 more units of Uruk, a troll catapult, which is a troll with a catapult. And then we have a Uruk's bodyguard with the general, of course, and 3 Temple Inquisitors acting as the sergeants. Behind them are actual unit of Temple Inquisitors. Some Sauron's Will, which are sort of like berserker monks who will inspire the Uruks to keep fighting. And of course, your man of the hour when you're breaching Gondor, the Olagai. Be careful, ladies and men of Minas Tirith. He is going to be stealing your ladies and gatehouse tonight. Very nice. Very nice. So anyway, over to the next army, led by Samwise the Brave. We have him leading the orcs in the Misty Mountains. These orcs are better armored than the orcs in Mordor, but lack skill and special elites. So we have some goblin infantry here. And one of their better elite units is the Black Watch Legion, taking a Romanesque style of a massive frickin' shields and short swords. They won't kill enemies, but they'll stay there for a long while. I say that they won't kill that many, but look at the frickin' sword they have. Like, that is a scary sword. Along with the skulls on their back adds intimidation. But if you want killing in the Misty Mountains, then you ask the Black Uruks of the mountains to do the killing for you. These are essentially just 2-handed orcs, pretty much in good armor. Same as the Black Watch Legion, but meh. They're not as well armored due to the shield. We have some just basic heavy goblin halberdiers. Basically, goblins who take scraps of dwarven armor and just forge it onto their own. If we go over to Samwise archer forces, we have him on either flank with 2 units of heavy goblin archers, which is essentially the same armor as the halberds, but just with a bow this time. And crossbow heavy goblins, which same as before. So it looks like there's already a wall breach developing, but don't worry. This battle doesn't really get underway that quickly. Another unit, we have some wargs, so definitely prepared for a cavalry assault. And yeah, another Black Watch, more goblins leading the charge, soaking up these arrow towers for him. And Apollo 11's dwarfs just manning their stations. Probably going to slow it down a bit because progress is being made. So just more goblin infantry. We got some trolls. Just mountain trolls, really cheap trolls. They won't last long. And they're more sexy looking brethren. He's going to be stealing some dwarven bodies tonight to eat for his dinner. Is he going to make it a stew? Or is he going to make it a soup? It's why that face is like that. Yeah. Anyway, we got catapult. We got some heavy goblin crossbowmen with 1 ladder for some reason. And the last army for the Forces of Evil is led by Savage Paradox. Very good player, and a very dangerous one indeed. He has a catapult as Gundabad. Gundabad famed for his heavy infantry, but a real lack of cav, with some pretty good troll support. We've got some Orc Marauders. You don't see them very often in Marauders because they're cheap. Not really effective, but they're great at soaking up damage. And for what they cost, they're pretty good meat shields. We've got a unit of Witch Realm Scourge Raiders. These guys are your pretty much Berserker and Warrior Monk units that will support the main line. And then on a combination of the main line, we have Black Uruk Warband, which is heavily armored Urks, backed up by Rudor Heavy Pikemen. The Rudor Heavy Pikemen model taken from the Divide and Conquer mod. They are Moot Keepers, I think they're called. Or I think these ones are called Moot Keepers, the Rudar Berserkers, who have 2 HP and can pierce your armor with their axes and clubs. Maybe it was Elders, Moot Elders. That might have been them. Got a lot of Goblin Archers, Goblin Trackers, these lightly armored Goblins just using their bows whenever they can, along with some Snagga Stalkers. So just really cheap line infantry here. And some Rudar Savages who really cause damage with their axes. And of course, for the elites, and yes, this isn't the elites, we have some Guardians of Carandun, the Witch King's personal bodyguard. Well-ish. Mass-produced bodyguard, if we can say. Some Trolls of Gundabad with their pointy helmets certainly make up in the mental department, you know? Because those helmets, be careful, they will kill you. If the troll doesn't. Some Warg Riders, just in case cavalry shows up, and a unit of Witch Realm Blackguard. These are Numenorians who fell to the sway of Sauron and pledged their allegiance to the Witch King. So it looks like no serious fighting has started as of yet, but I guess this is a good time as any to review Shagoth's army. As you can see, we have a unit of Ravanian Hunters. This will be removed in the next patch because they do the exact same job as Rivermen, but cheaper and worse. Throwing their javelins down on the orc fodder, which is rather a waste considering those javelins could be better used elsewhere. Other than that, he has 4 units of Lake Town infantry. These infantrymen in this patch are currently crap, but they can still form shield walls, so don't underestimate them. To make up for the lack of good swordsmen, however, the Dalian Spearmen in this patch have AP and 32 defense. Is it in armor or is it in skill? We don't know. All we know is that you don't want to mess with a Dalian Spearman. Backed up with some Dalian Swordsmasters, who, if spears weren't bad enough with AP, these guys don't have AP, they'll just kill you either way. Doesn't matter. We've got 2 units of Earls on either side of the wall, providing a nice core of heavy infantry. The Earls won't kill much, but they'll certainly hold the line, better than most. And just some more Dalian Spearmen and 2 units of Lake Town infantry to block off a flanking maneuver should Samwise choose to support his ally. Oh, a large contingent and a graphical grit can make any man worry. The question is, will Shagoth be able to get his men off this weird-ass looking wall? We also have some of Falar Rangers. These are quite well-armored Rangers wearing chainmail. Be careful, they will kill. And some Bardian Marksmen, the mainstream of Dale's Archer Corps. Be very careful because they will kill you. On Apollo's lower layer, he's taken to the side with DI, and Samwise's majority of Samwise's forces are concentrated. He has miners, 2 units of miners, very cheap dwarfs with AP. To back them up, there's some Khazad warriors. These are more heavily armored dwarves, if for dwarven standards they're heavily armored. And they are fierce. They will fight in Moria. They will come out of the Misty Mountains and say, that's nothing. Of course, if you're looking for really battle-hardened veterans, look no further than the Hammers of Gundabad. These people come from Gundabad, and they will kick your asses with their short, stubby legs, and if they can't reach your ass, then you're going to be hit by the hammer. Which is, to be honest, some beautiful artwork put in that hammer, but I wouldn't want to be hit by it. Next, we have 2 units of Ironfoot Pikemen. These are just essentially mainstream dwarfs from the Iron Hills, taking the Iron Hills armor, of course. Of course, Billy Connolly's character is very proud of them. Very dangerous units. Be careful, because if you think dwarves are amazing at holding the line, then the Ironfoot Pikemen are exceptional to that role for dwarven standards. Both players have also maintained their most elite units in the back. Guarding the retreat here are some Ironfoot Guard 2 HP dwarven infantry units sent by Billy Connolly himself to guard this location to the bitter end. Ironfoot crossbowmen for the dwarfs pulling back from the first layer to reinforce the second layer. What's on the second layer, you may ask? Well, that's a good question. We have 2 units of Avari Eldar archers. These are essentially the Avari are mystical elves from beyond the Easterling lands who sell their services for anyone who's looking to kill some Melkor stuff. They ain't cheap, but by God, if you want elven archers, then these are your guys. They may not be to the same standards of Imladris and that, but if they're mixed with Dalian archers, you're in trouble. They also, the Pike variant is also held back here with some Ironfoot crossbowmen as well. And then finally, the Dalian Paladins. These clubbers are certainly not meant to be met on the dance floor. If the dance floor was a battlefield, however, then seeing them on it would be a grateful sign, hence why they have inspiring presence. And finally, some Khazad-dûm Reclaimers who throw axes, Blacklock Legion, or Blacklock Engineers, who have ballista bolts on their crossbows, hence why their crossbows look so cool, because they are actual legitimate cannons. And finally, Khazad-dûm Guards, who are just very, very heavily armored dwarfs. Oh my god. That took 10 minutes of my life. I can exactly tell you the seconds, 10 minutes 49 seconds. Some Dalians did die, and now the Ravanians are fighting some orc fodder. So let's get this battle started. I don't actually know the end result, but Apollo sent me this some weeks ago, and the fodder's already running away. So Sir Casualty's really just running up to these walls. You can imagine these orcs just flailing their arms like the Shadow War sappers onto a gate. They're just really going at it. They're trying to get past these Ravanian hunters, who aren't really that great. Ravanian hunters. Ladder already going down. That's a current problem in this, because if you notice when I slow down, they're actually firing 3 ballista bolts at insane accuracy. So they're able to take down these ladders fairly quickly, which might just rack up the casualties for Sir Casualty. Of course, he's already caused a breach in the wall, I think. No breach yet. He's working on it, though. He might just be looking to disrupt the enemy and really concentrating his effort on these actual ladders. Of course, only time will tell, because his forces really are going to have a hard time getting past these Dalian spearmen and other units of Dale who will fight to the end. Even the Ravanian hunters will put up a challenge. In the meantime, it looks like over here we have some action from Apollo and DI. Yep, it's just some very minor skirmishing. Just between some snug and minor, so nothing major. Really, Samwise and DI are just putting a presence here to force these dwarfs to stay, taking a much more conservative approach against the dwarfs than anything else. I like to zoom in sometimes because, sort of provides you what's happening here. Because look at this is like a horde of people. So it looks like we already have breaches forming up for the attackers. So Casualty is going to go through and try and fight in these breaches. But his wall assaults have really just crumbled apart. Lots of Moran and orcs and that dead. And now there's just going to be even more Uruks just charging through this breach. It's not going to end well. Because what's waiting on the other side? Some pointy hat Blake townsmen. It's going to be fierce. The fighting's going to be bloody. But goddammit, we're going to sit here and enjoy it for a second as I try and recover my voice with a bottle of water. Anyway, the fighting's really kicking off here with Sir Casualty literally piling in everything he can. But these Dalesmen, whilst I may say that Lake Town swordsmen in this patch aren't amazing, or Lake Town infantry rather, they can form shield wall. Shield wall increases the mass of a unit, which means their weight. So these Dalian infantrymen went from a line of slightly middle-aged light gentlemen from medieval times to obesity-sized units in the shield wall. If, of course, it wasn't for the Ola guys who just, like in the movies, come in and smash up your beautiful shield wall. The heroes are now being committed with some Dalian spearmen, but the damage is already done. With the line broken, the orcs will now use this to just really push forward with the damage caused by the trolls. Very good move from Sir Casualty. In the meantime, what's Apollo doing? Apollo's doing nothing. Actually, quite interestingly, the fighting on the breach is still ongoing, and DI and Samwise are still being very conservative. I say that, and Samwise has already launched a miniature assault on his own to support Sir Casualty. Of course, we aren't going to pay attention to that assault. Sir Casualty making some actual progress. This is a very risky move, because the defenders could lock this down very effectively. Because if these Bardian marksmen were to notice this, they might be out of ammo. Now, they still got arrows in their quivers, but I don't know if that's aesthetic or not. It looks like they might. They might. Yeah, but these orcs, with this many piled up, the towers aren't really going to help you. And even with the Dalian spearmen, you're going to struggle because of just the sheer number of them. Like, they're pushing out and absorbing poor dalesmen like him into their ranks and piling on him. It's not pretty. And of course, Mordor's elites are still hanging in the back. Temple Inquisitors, Sauron's will, they're all hanging in the back. So the initial defense from Sargoth, whilst well-intended, has sort of failed in a sense. But there are still a lot of dalesmen left alive on the flanks who are just currently really fighting it out tooth and nail. I mean, the Oligarch will eventually go down, but alas, damage was done. Towers will help out a lot as well. Whilst Sir Casualty is doing that, however, Apollo on the other hand and Savage are just quite happily just skirmishing. Whilst it may be uncommon for the orcs to skirmish, if you got enough archers like Savage is, you can't actually do that in this patch. Gundabad has the most archers, because Snaga and Goblin Trackers may be terrible, but the sheer numbers of them. So the idea for Savage, unlike Sir Casualty, is not to rush his entire army into one breach. Instead, Savage and Samwise will be approaching this breach in a slow and methodical manner. As you can see, the miners, over here, were lured outside, thus forcing Apollo to take up a more serious unit. Now, the problem is with Apollo is that if he chooses to fight against Samwise in that, then his ally over here will lose the majority of his men. We already see the Bardian marksmen being committed into combat. And of course the Dalian swordmasters ready on the walls to prevent flanking. There's also another breach here that's dangerously close to forming up. And of course the battering rams in position and the troll catapult still. No, it doesn't because of its firing maze. That's it. It's over. No more ammo for them. I mean, not the bow. So these ladder assaults are pretty costly for the attackers because of just how much damage the towers are doing. And what you really want to do is just concentrate in one area and try and just avoid these towers, or better yet, destroy the towers and then move in. Of course, that's a problem in its own right. As you can see, even with tower support, however, there's the sheer number of orcs bearing down on the poor Dalians here. They will struggle. A lot of their good elite units, a lot of good units still being held back. We've got some troops here. Just really, these late town infantrymen are going to have to repel pretty dangerous assaults on this side. But on the other side, they had a relatively easier time. I say that, and we can see the bodies just here. Not many casualties. Not many casualties. A lot of dalesmen that will lose to the Blacklock Legion. But they might make it out because of the towers. In the meantime, though, Sir Casualty still just on the assault. Shagoth's troops really being tested for their wealth and skill here. I mean, the dalesmen aren't crap in the Third Age. I mean, they're not displayed very often, unless you go to the Hobbit films. But when Dale rebuilds, they're a power to be feared just because of archers. And you know, even Dale got massacred when the Easterlings invaded, but they still had held their own for a while, and considering the East had years to prepare, that's pretty impressive. So over here, it looks like some more wall fighting's erupted between Samwise's Blackwatch Legion and the Hammer of Gundabad. This battle being slightly more intense because the towers be supporting and the Hammers of Gundabad using their AP hammers, yes, their hammers are AP, up against the Blacklock Legion, who heavily rely on their shield and armor just to hold out and kill the enemy. So will it be the shock trooper that wins, who is a dwarf, or the orc with the big shield? That's the question. In the meantime, though, the dwarfs are just really getting peppered down by arrow fire. Isn't much a problem for them, though. They're like the Spartans at Phoenopoli. Their equipment is far superior than the enemy's projectiles, but eventually they'll die. Dwarfs on the wall having a massive amount of success, even attempting to sally out and fight in the middle of the tower. I mean, these Auric marauders retreating down, and these dwarfs led by Apollo. I would not attempt this because there is a real risk of this tower falling down. As these, these marauders, they're not broken, they're retreating tactically. So some very clever play by Savage. Obviously, Apollo did not put his men onto guard mode. So, now there's just going to be this real fight down here. And these orcs, they stand a good chance killing a couple, but as soon as the dwarfs establish a proper bridgehead, it's going to be a one-sided massacre. Not many times in medieval warfare that you see this many men going down a siege tower. Like, occasionally, if they do push back the attackers, they will set a light. Because, logic. But we're not interested in minor skirmishing. Let's see how Mordor's doing. Mordor now committing its troll catapults and more elites into the mix. Dale now having more troops sending in. The Afalar Rangers, or no. Where did the Afalar end up? Interesting. We got some Uruk archers trying to form up the center. Ah, I see. Oh, I forgot that the Avari are stationed here. They're bird's eye view of the situation. Like, for elves, this is far too easy. They're going to be headshotting people all day. It's not going to be pretty. So, yeah. Possibly Sir Casualty's assault might not get much headway against the Daelian defenders, but according to the balanced power, it's not too terrible for now. I mean, Sir Casualty has lost a lot of men on his side, but he's kept a lot of Dale busy. And Savage and Samwise still have a lot of their armies intact. We got some Ravanian hunters from Shaggoth down here, readying and just prepping to throw some javelins at Blacklock Legion, who are trying to clean up the last of this Lake Town infantry. Very wisely, the Lake Town infantry just trying to buy time for the towers. Ah, I see. So there was a bit of flanking here, trying to go into support, but the Uruks failed. But the Dalesmen just not lacking on the defensive. Like, they lost a lot of men in that initial push, but now, because the enemies ran out of manpower, it's not looking good for them. The arrow fire, the towers, not looking good. Even the Billy Connolly dwarfs who marched to Erebor. Actually, did I show off the Erebor infantry? I didn't think so. There's just... Oh, look, there's the Afalar. I wonder where they went. Yeah, here's the Erebor infantry after doing. Reconquered it. Yeah, they look nice. 2 HP, AP, shield wall, very high mass for dwarfs. They're very powerful, very well equipped, and very well trained. Don't mess with them, because like many things in this universe, you'll get your guts flayed out. In the meantime, it looks like Apollo did learn from the errors of his ways of trying to sally out, and is now wisely pulling back. In the meantime, we do have some heavy goblin halberds attempting to get up on these walls. Blacklock Legion now supported by Rudar Savages, trying to make headway, but not really getting anywhere, because the hammers of Gundabad on this side have really succeeded. And just the goblin trackers from Savage being peppered down. And if we look towards Sir Casualty's side, we might be able to see the problem, shall we say. Because now I see he lives up to his namesake, a lot of orcs dead. I mean, it's not their fault, it's just that they're up against humans. Oh, but look at this, it's another shield wall push against the Bardian marksmen who double up. It's sort of like sub-infantry. Like, if you compare them to infantry on their tier, they won't do the job, but they're archers. That's the main appeal to the Bardian marksmen. They're archers who act as infantry. So use them as according. Oh, another clever movement from Samwise. Dale's forces are really being exploited here. Their lack of numbers, but to make up for it, they do have a lot of arrows. It looks like the poor Ravanian hunters trying to use their small AP axes up against these Blacklock Legion. Even performing the legendary Dalian Shuffle. Sorry, I'm just putting my shoes back because I was hitting them a few times. This formation is legendary in Dale, for you see not many, well, nearly every other nation can pull it off, but in Dale it's called the Dalian Shuffle because it's Dalesmen and, well, technically it's, never mind. Kingdom of Dale rules. End of discussion. But yeah, it's a really dangerous situation right now because the balance of power, whilst the attackers do have more percentage loss and nearly have lost 50% of their men, you gotta remember, most of it's because of Mordor here, who really had numbers, and the Dalesmen have lost a lot of good men, a lot of their best infantry thrown into this meat grinder of a situation. And on the other hand, the dwarfs, they're not in a brilliant position themselves, because most of Gundabad's army is still, and Samwise, like a few elements from Samwise have went in, but Gundabad and really the elite cores of these armies are now being pressured in. Like we see that the Ironfoot Legion were attacked from behind here, or Ironfoot Legion, Ironfoot Pikemen, were attacked from behind by these heavily armored black-backed mountain berserkers. If you think ordinary berserkers were bad, these guys are even worse. They were hidden from the start. I didn't even notice them myself, to be fair. Far better than anything currently standing against them, but the arrow showers might help. The Billy Connolly dwarfs even being summoned to assist in this battle. Of course, this is a mere fraction of Gundabad's army. Combined with the orcs of Misty Mountains, they will swarm over these hills. They are dangerous folk. Folk? Army. They will not be underestimated. And alas, there's not really much they can do, because from a general's perspective, they should try and hold these positions long as possible, because the towers will do damage. And yes, that is gaming, but that's because the people at Third Age Reforged prefer their towers shooting 3 ballista bolts per second, and I don't know why. They're meant to be patching it out next patch, I think. I hope. I don't know. But anyway, back to the battle instead of politics. As you can see, Mordor really just hammered in, but the damage has been done today. A lot of dead Dalesmen, and a lot more Uruks now returning with some assistance from Wargs? What the fuck? Samwise's elite infantry, as well as Mordor's, not looking so hot on the walls anymore. A good fight was made, but they lost in the end. Sir Casualty's army, now dead, 50% of the defenders, and really, just the first wall being held with such determination by the defenders, if it wasn't for the dwarves, of course. They'll lose this side, because the approach was far more conservative. It wasn't as bad, and the dwarven defenders were just overstretched. They were outmaneuvered, in a sense, because they had to guard here and there. And now we can just see that the cheaper units just being thrown in. These Black Uruk Warband trying to push through this dwarven shield wall, but to no success. However, the pikes in the rear might provide assistance, because the pikes can just poke you from afar. And they don't have AP. Uh-oh. Snow Trolls being committed. Snow Trolls have AP, I think. And that will be a game changer, because we can now just watch these Khazad warriors just drop drastically for Dwarven standards. As you can see, the Snow Trolls break up the formation, and then the Uruk infantry surrounds one dwarf and keep hitting it until it's dead. That's the only way you can really kill them efficiently. More Rudar pikemen just being committed in here by Savage. Samwise, of course, helping quite massively and not giving him enough credit. But that's because most of his forces are on the walls, or fighting minor engagements here. Oh, King, you forgot Sir Casualty. Well, guess what? Sir Casualty is dead. Well, maybe. Very clever move from Samwise, moving his wargs out through the Dalian sword masters. And of course, the Temple Inquisitors now being committed. This was a really risky move, and still is, because those Avari archers are still up on those walls, ready to pour down fire, who now have just been replaced by the Athalar, who have the same damage as Avari. So, yeah, now we can see the percentage evening up. Just because now the attackers have committed, the defenders' resolve on the first wall has been weakened. And of course, even though Mordor has lost a lot of men, they have killed a great amount of Dale's stronger elite units. A lot of ammo was used up, and the only way that they've been able to hold thus far has been through a combination of arrow towers and skill from their troops. Not much you can do otherwise. Not much left in the books from Mordor, though. Like, I see they have one sneaky unit poking outside. Nah, it's just some running orcs. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, a sneaky warg charge. Going in for some Billy Connolly foot guard. Those wargs do a lot of damage. Even though it may look dumb, those wargs, they will do damage if you don't pay attention. Very sneaky charge from Samwise. Good move. Good move. And of course, the dwarfs now losing their position. Oh, the poor Avari Kyle position. Avari may be elves, and elves are great for many things, but dealing with trolls at that range, ugh. Some arrow fire being poured in to avenge their brethren. I feel as if they're causing too many breaches on the first wall now. Whilst, you know, this battle's done. You want to get over and done with quickly, I understand. You want to flank them, you want to make the dwarfs break, but there isn't much left. Hammers of Gundabad have tried, but the Blackback Berserkers, who so many of them died due to towers, Hammers of Gundabad, and everything thrown at them. This leaves the defenders in sort of a good position in a sense, because Samwise has used up a lot of elites. The majority of Mordor's army is dead, and he just lost his general, which will affect the goblins because they don't have great morale. I do realize that this battle is just over half an hour, and surprisingly, they haven't even reached the inner layer yet. I don't even know if they have enough ammo for the inner layer. But it looks like the Temple Inquisitors cleaned up the last embers of resistance on this side, apart from these stubborn earls and their bannermen. Just really holding out. I like this old look for Dale, though. It's cool. Spearmen just really fighting out. Swordmasters on the flanks. It looks like, whilst this battle is definitely downgraded in size, the ferocity from the beginning is still there. Every trick being employed by Shaggoth to hold that position, to keep it locked down, to prevent Mordor from flanking his ally. And then you realize there's a bunch of trolls doing the flanking for him. Some Ironfoot guard trying to hold with Lake Town infantry, but you can't hold against 32 trolls. Yeah, 32. 16 out of 16 is 32. I'm not very good with maths, but I'm brilliant at hitting stuff and winning med-2 battles. Anyway, it looks like this battle is coming down to a nice winding end. A lot of crossbows killed here. We're only halfway through. Jesus Christ. So the defenders, now they have their retreat cut off. And, the gate's open. The gate is open. The Avari Elder pikemen moved up. So now being filtered in. Oh god, it's going to be like the scene from The Hobbit where the dwarves form the shield wall and then the elves jump over it and ruin it. Hit that scene. It looks awesome, but tactically so invalid. Because why would the dwarves even form a shield wall when the elves were just going to jump over it anyway? You know? Ugh. Anyway, back to this combat down here. We got some Lake Town infantry walking into the middle like, come and face me! And then getting gangbanged by 7 orcs. I can say that because it really is just them orcs sticking their swords into the poor Lake Town infantry. Huh. That's pretty cool. Those two had simultaneous deaths. However, this side, Dale still looks strong as the support of the Swordmasters and the Spearmen now linking up, really tearing through. However, most of the Temple Inquisitors are still alive, so that might just be a temporary game for them. In the meantime, though, it looks like Savage and Samwise have broke through on their side, eating the dwarven flesh just to have a nice afternoon snack before going to the feasting hall for some elven bodies. Actually, they already do have elven bodies, but not enough. Not enough. Oh, Dalian marksmen. It looks like they retreated from the first wall. I'd left them out, but these are also another unique thing about Dale, is that these guys, unlike your Bardian marksmen in the next patch, will be AP infantry. They'll be less defensive and more offensively orientated, but lightly armored because, you know, that cloak isn't made out of chainmail. But you gotta remember, you gotta swagger over your enemy. You have to make sure. Spartans were the greatest warriors. And before Phonopoly, people called them poofters. Why did they call them poofters, King? Quite simple. They applied luscious olive oil and perfumes to their bodies. And Xerxes, the king of Persia who was invading Greece at the time, didn't even bother looking into this. This was how the Spartans prepared for death. And yet, how did Dale prepare, you may ask? Not that really well. But now we have the Rudar Berserkers coming in to assist here. A nice little play here to free up Mordor's last elites, whilst Mordor's military strength is greatly diminished after this fight. You gotta remember, they took out a great chunk of, Mountain Orc Berserkers as well. Huh, good choice. They cause fear and inspire units. Yeah, so the last embers of the Dalian resistance now just being torn apart. We got even more Black Mountain Uruks. Oh, poor Dale. So the defenders now really forced up into the second layer, but the second layer being breached. Well, shit, now they're dead, aren't they? I suspect this will be the next major battleground. I mean, they're putting up one hell of a show with their arrows, showing off that Dalian marksmanship by trying to aim for some high elite units like the trolls. Speaking of which, where are the snow trolls? Samwise moving up his battering. Oh wait, that's Savage. No, Samwise moving up his battering ram with some of his depleted but elite units. A lot of depth on this side for both sides, yet it still looks strong in the favor of the attackers. But the defenders aren't far behind as well. They're actually on the same percentage, but I'm counting every dwarf as half a man, so every elf, half a man. I'm really racist, aren't I? And I love that glitch. But I think these Dalesmen should move off this wall before it's too late. These Dalesmen, you may notice, have axes. This is dangerous, because they now have AP. It's a very little known fact that Dale has infantry archers out the wazoo. Even the Athalar Rangers, who are meant to be your dedicated range unit in this version, have furry defense. Because they're that good. But that's only this version. They're changing it into the next version for 20. 10 defense, 10 armor. Which isn't much. But I think it'll be simplified further after a few testing sessions. So now we've just reached a nice, calm lull in the battle. Just a bit of peace, walls breaking down, and the last retreating unit of Dalian Spearmen, which is only 2 guys really, trying to escape. So obviously the forces of Mordor will regroup with their Gundabad allies and say, we did most of the work, we want the most man flesh. And they're going to be like, dude, there's so much man flesh, dwarf flesh, and elf flesh to go around here, it's unbelievable. But we'll start with the orc flesh. But yeah, just some really fierce fighting here. A lot of Dale's forces wiped out, and a lot of the dwarf's mainstream infantry wiped out over there as well. But the elites were left for last. A lot of these men are now ready and battle-hardened and fresh for battle. Even the Blacklock engineers will cause havoc and destruction. Of course, there was even a few survivors who will now form up into suicide squads, of course. Yeah. Still better than the movie Suicide Squad, funnily enough. Looks like Samwise is moving up a battering ram to batter down the gates, but the gates are open. Maybe he wants to get rid of the oil. Wait, if there's 161 oh, it's doing that thing. Capo. Where's our capo shooting from? Must be from the outside? Yeah, has to be from the outside. Ah, that's some very good positioning from Savage. Because if we watch where this capo goes, didn't see where that unit was. Ah, very clever playing. Trying to wipe out these towers so the defenders can't use them like they did on Mordor. Quite a good example of defenders just rushing, and now they're going to take it, or attackers rushing the first layer despite the arrow towers and saving their capo shots for later on. So yeah, some really clever tactics being used here. Just waiting, biding your time, causing breaches, forcing the defenders to overexert themselves. Like, most of Shaggoth's ammo has been used at this point. Apollo's crossbows are better suited for shooting over horizontal rather than vertical, unlike the longbows of the elves. And the elven archers are concentrating on the main mass of, as you can see, this large conga line of goblin halberds, who are now retreating from the gateway. because, you know, the battering ram might not be needed. Even more catapult shots firing in from that highly accurate catapult. Rather impressive considering they missed most of the time. Goblins must be on cocaine. I think it makes them more accurate. I'm not too familiar with their biology, so I can't make a statement like that. So we can really see that this battle is only just halfway. I mean, I don't know how this counter actually works, but oh, it's going to be vicious. It's going to be fierce. Both sides on 71%, towers being taken down, and suicide squads just really moving out and causing havoc. Oh, but what's this? We got a unit of goblin trackers, probably with... No, they still have ammo. So most likely, they're just going to try and make the defenders waste ammo. Just get rid of any potential threats from these Avari Eldar, who are insanely accurate. Don't expect much from them. They'll die in droves, but they'll use up the enemy's ammo at least. I see the catapult ran out of ammunition. Ah, that's a good play from Samwise, using Calby on his own men to inspire them for the victory feast. Of course it would help if the cows weren't run, but I can't judge. You need someone to motivate your men, even if it's terribly bad rotten food. So really now it's just some skirmish phase, so I'll report back. Maybe, like, depends on what these goblins do. Because if these goblins, like, trigger a whole chain reaction saying, oh, we have to save them, then maybe I'll intervene. What the hell? Another very tactical play here. Ideally, he doesn't want to shoot at the Avalar, who are just, like, over. He wants to shoot over here, because the shots will have a bit more arc, and even if they do miss, like, massively, they'll still have a consolation prize of an Avalar Ranger. So it looks like the goblins just really causing nothing, just DI, sending up savages, sending them up, just, you know, checking the enemy's defenses, to say. Some more suicide squads getting hit by cow meat, dead elf because of it. And really, I see. I mean, despite being few in number, these elves will still kill a good amount of these goblins should they not be swarmed. But alas, there might not be enough of them. Because, you know, medieval 2 mechanics can't allow you to be from guts from Berserk, you know? Even this late town infantry will be made reasonable in front of them. I say that, then they start dying. What a shame. That one Dalian spearman just going like, come on! Fight me! I want to fight today. I may die, but I'm gonna take as many of you down with me. I mess up my words. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I am a merchant. I only do this warrior gig as a part-time. Part-time. He's a very good part-timer. Still going. Like, he's just attacking so fast. These goblins are like, what the fuck? What is this man? He's like a legend. No, he's just some spearman from Dale. We say that, and probably, you know, late town infantryman, still going on strong. Yeah, spears just attack so fast. Even more troops being called up. Oh, they're gone. They were even sending in trolls to deal with that one's poor spearman. What a shame. It does look like, though, that these trolls are, quite literally, yep, they're going to run right through. Nice stop, and then the chaos begins. Samwise is going to try and use his trolls just to annihilate as much as possible. But alas, because of this late stage in the battle and the eliteness of these dwarfs and elves, they won't really get much done. I mean, this is just really fodder waves to make them tired for the true elites and use up ammo. And take attention from the tower. Some Dalian infantry ready to go here. Or marksmen, rather. ready to go into the fighting, and now we can see Samwise just really pushing up a lot more goblins and troops. It looks like the final stage has begun, folks. Despite, taking 45 minutes. Ugh. Honestly. I should have just cut out that skirmish phase, shouldn't I? Well, they were having, minor Suicide Squad runs, so I guess, if... It's you guys who watch these videos, not me. I'll watch somebody else's videos for good commentary. Although, footage, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. Anyway, back to the battle itself. As you can see, a lot of dead Uruks. Probably should zoom this in so we have a better idea of the urban fighting that's going on. Or rather, the street-to-street fighting. As you can see, the goblin archers just using overhead shots to shoot into the Afala Rangers, just really causing havoc. They'll kill a few, but that's still HP damage. In the meantime, though, we just got more, just pretty even. Still, on par with one another. You could definitely say that the attackers have the advantage in numbers, but the defenders have the advantage of position. And midgets with throwing axes. And of course, they still have the Dalian Paladins, which have not been committed yet. No, they have been committed. No, they're still chilling. Shouldn't you guys be on the front inspiring the men? Pfft, they don't need inspiring, they're already dead. So, yeah, we got one Uruk just routing into the town before realizing how bad of an idea that was. What a shame. So it looks like these dwarves and elves have warded off the first attack. But now just begins another skirmish phase. Yay! I mean, really, you gotta do this against such a well-defended position. Are those Blacklock? No, just crossbowmen. And these Dalesmen are prime targets, or Dalian marksmen, because they're lightly armored. They'll do AP damage, But if you can kill something at range, then I'll happily take it. Now we got some Black Uruk warband just being committed against these Dalesmen. Most of these Uruks are well armored, they're not exactly badly skilled, so to say. So they'll put up a fight, they'll kill at least a few Dalesmen before going down. Backed up with the pike wall formations, this will be a very difficult battle indeed. Crossbow bolts will be flying into them though, so that might alleviate some pressure. Of course, this is really, really difficult to say. Both sides are very evenly matched, the attackers having more numbers, and, they're elites, they're damaged, but the defenders have strong positions. You don't say. The defenders lost a good chunk of men outside, but they still have these defensible positions back here, ready to go. Pikemen just really holding their line against the airborne infantry, allowing the berserkers to get set up, get them stuck in the fray without too much crossbow bolts flying in their faces. It looks like Samwise will be doing the same, I believe. Yep, Samwise will be preparing for an attack through the gatehouse, possibly to entrap these airborne infantry. However, there are Blacklock engineers whose ammunition is terrifying. With such a good shot line, they will cause havoc. As you can see, these ballista bolt midgets just firing into the backs of these Rudar berserkers. Men who can take hundreds of hours just being brought down by one midget with a crossbow from that distance. It's actually quite short range. But as you can see, Savage DI's forces, they put up a good fight. It's just that the position of the defenders and the crossbow bolts at this stage are too powerful. I say that until the trolls are being committed. Maybe a bit too late, but I'm quite favoritism of the Rudar men due to their looks. And these Dalian infantry, or marksmen, they may have AP, but these are trolls of Gundabad. They're gonna kick and punch you before you can even use that little axe. It's a very good move from Savage DI, using his trolls to break up the enemy formation once more. This late in the game, that's pretty vital. We even have Samwise using his trolls for the exact same, Samwise using his trolls and halberds at the same time. Genuinely a good strategy, but these elves have longer pikes and the goblins have halberds. So that's a bit of a problem. Dalian marksman really being cleaned up and into this nice squishy archer corpse. So now the defenders will have to decide, should we send the airborne infantry in, or should we send something from the reserves in? Because if they abandon this front line, it's going to be a problem. Because yes, the Guardians of Carandum are here. And they're just going to cut this Dwarven infantry unit in half. So the Dwarfs are not expecting this assault. The first few go down, and now they have to deal with a shield wall of the Carandum Guardians. Prompting that the Dwarfs of Erebor will have to abandon their archer corps to the merciless assault of the trolls. In the meantime, a lot more elites, the last few remaining units of Mordor, the last few men committing their lives to this battle, and the Guardians of Carandum just pushing through, showing these dwarfs what a proper shield wall looks like. Guardians of Carandum, by the way, are very well trained orcs. They're very dangerous. They don't have AP, but like the Blacklock Legion, they will hold ranks, but do even more damage. Scourge Raiders have less armor, but god damn it, do they have AP and they hit hard. I think they have AP, but I'm not too sure. General's unit for Savage also being committed here, pushing through these dwarfs, using that shield wall mass just to cause havoc. These poor elven pikemen not going to be much of a help in such close quarter situation, as these swordsmen will just tear through anything being sent at them. Real growing problem, however, and the crossbows still trying to lend as much fire as they can, but they can only get so few shots in, because their friendlies are now scattered amongst the Guardians of Carandum and Scourge Raiders. In the meantime, trolls, many of them died due to the Afalar and combined might. Just these dwarfs stacking bodies and taking names of frickin' trolls. But as you can see, Apollo still holding ranks, still very closely contended. One false move and some good volleys could change the tide of battle. And of course, the Blacklock Legion now being focused down as they well should be. The defenders forming their last defensive line with the few units they have left. And crossbows. I mean, what else do you expect? Oh, we do have a single ladder though, and some half-naked orcs climbing up said ladder. It's like 12 o'clock at night. Ew. Don't even want to give the thought anything. Still, wargs now just walking through, cutting off their retreat for these archers, so they're pretty done for now. They might even rout, which could be a massive problem. Scourge Raiders and just the sheer might of Gundabad just plowed through and messed up Apollo's poor dwarven lines. Sagoth and Apollo's joint defense on this side has also fallen. However, these Avari archers are stunned at the sight of naked orcs with massive two-handed axes just running up the wall. And they're thinking, what have I done to deserve this? What have I done to fight these men? Or creatures, rather? Last few of the Avari retreating, he will spread word to his other comrades to prepare the last stand, which is looking more and more the case. These heavily armored Blacklock engineers forming a nice meat shield, and another suicide squad forming. Yeesh, it's not pretty. Last of the airborne infantry now cleaned up. The Scourge Raiders and Wargs have both jointly killed the last remaining archers on the outskirts. And of course, the breach over on this side has been solidified with some snag of skirmishers with javelins. Interesting choice. And of course, the Avari and the mountain orc berserkers just running in, causing havoc. These Avari aren't going to last. What I was meant to say was the Black Mountain berserkers. It's funny because these are also berserkers. These berserkers are going to be like, what the hell, you guys have armor? They're going to be like, yeah, because we're smart. You know, that's what I can imagine. Just a lot of archers being used, and we hear some chanting. Yep, that is the Temple Inquisitors celebrating their victory through singing. Like Aztecs. It's currently in style. Just a lot of arrows being poured in here, just hoping for the best, really. I mean, This defensive line will not be broken by any means easily, at least. You will need a lot of people and a lot of men, but the attackers have that. They have crossbows, they have arrows, and they've killed the last few of the Avari. They disrupted the retreat of Apollo on this side, and because Shaggoth refused to give up the outside layers. Well, that's a risk. You have to balance the number of units on the outside and the inside, and your success. Because Apollo should have retreated more men on this side. Alright. Nope. What's this? There's still, like, some miniature combat going on here. 2 Guardians of Karen Doom are just... or Black Watch Legion are just having a stare down with this Billy Conley dwarf who has somehow managed to disguise himself as a wall. That picture just might beat the troll, goddammit. But anyway, yeah. Back to the main fighting over here. We'll keep just very fierce now. The attackers finally getting across this archway and getting their archers into position, only to be disrupted by a suicide squad of a Dalesman and an elf. That elf really showing how to use that spear, but the arrows of the friendlies killing the elf. Really bad. Like, these crossbowmen want revenge for all their dead brothers, and rightly so. They're concentrating down the enemy's crossbows, as well as snag of skirmishers. Allowing them to skirmish is never a good idea, but here's a nice position for some range unit, you know. Thought that was Sauron there. Eesh. But now, just this really elite corpse left. Any units that can wield arms will now just be thrown into the mix of just firing into these heavily armored dwarven defenders. And it looks like we're in another skirmish stage for now. Apollo's still holding on, but how will the elves, Billy Conley, and the dwarfs hold this line? Against such odds, the guards of Khazad-dûm are no slouches in combat, and maybe committing this unit of Black Mountain Berserkers is a bad idea. Wisely, the defenders have chosen to keep their hard-hitting paladins and the Khazad reclaimers off to the flanks. So that's a good move. These Berserkers, who have AP, will try and kill as much of these Guardians of Khazad-dûm as possible, but these Guardians will not falter. They will stand their ground to the end. More crossbow bolts just raining in, trying to kill as many newcomers as possible to lessen the load on the front line. Even a Blacklock joining in and acting as stand-ins for Guardians of Khazad-dûm. Or Khazad-dûm. More goblin trackers being committed. A real attempt from Samwise and DI here. I would say Sir Casualty is still in this game because of that one unit of just Witch Realm Inquisitors just chilling. You know? They're sort of like running in now, but they're chilling. We're just going to chill in the back lines. The goblins and the orcs take some damage. Then they'll commit themselves because that front line of dwarfs is scary. Of course, they might not be chilling for long because most of them just died. Not to stakes, but to very well placed dwarven crossbows. And the Blackguard might even suffer the same fate. Of course, the problem is, well, the orcs aren't exactly famed for their morale. And that crossbow position is just tearing through anything, but the Guardians of Khazad-dûm have now gone themselves isolated with amongst the newcomers. And you know, just a shield wall push is going to be a massive problem, but yet now the Khazad Reclaimers realize that this is their moment to shine, throwing in axe after axe after axe, asking them questions of when they're going to die due to their axe. It's not pretty, a lot of axe puns here. A lot of axe puns over there. It's not pretty. But the line still holds firm. The elves just relatively standing back, chilling out, you know, helping the dwarfs when they get too close. But the dwarfs on this line still holding to the end. These armored midgets just refusing to yield, and the crossbows, they're helping. I mean, they're trying their best, but they're just getting shot. You know? Just really helping covering the flanks. Billy Conley being surrounded, but he's holding out like a champ. Yes, I do call King Dame Billy Conley because he was played by the actor Billy Conley. It's a funny story. Something to do with my granddad becoming Billy Conley's apprentice in the shipyards. That's my claim to fame. Of course, other than YouTube. So, fire. Must be seeing things. So yeah, now just where did all these heavy goblin halberds come from? Yeesh. Aye. I'm still very evenly matched though, very close. I'm just going to struggle to see how the defenders can pull this back until you realize you have Khazad Reclaimers and Dalian Paladins ready to fill in any gap, which might be the case soon because these Blackguard are causing some problems. Using their shield wall combined with the Goblin Halberds, they're going to try and push through these Avari, and the Avari, whilst massively skilled, aren't that heavy in terms of mass, so they're going to struggle. However, the Dwarfs still holding the left flank strong despite their few in numbers. And it now looks like the Dalian Paladins are going to be making their mark heard. These are AP Inspirational Infantry. They're very scary. It's an insanely close battle. Apollo's people still losing more allies, and Shaggoth sending in his last few units to assist where possible. But it looks like this may have been a move to tie down the Blackguard to stop them from reaching the Khazad Reclaimers, who will now wield their two-handed axes to join the conflict. Of course, these Goblin Halberds won't be much of a problem. However, those wargs might be, unless and unless there's fewer and fewer elves on the field. So now the problem lies on if these wargs, who have actually made themselves quite cost-effective by striking the rear of Dale back over there, and the dwarfs over there, and cutting off their retreat. You know? Oh no, Billy Conley's fallen. Oh no. Dale's general's still alive though, I think. Yep, he's just like, I'm not gonna die today. Just gonna settle up, order my men to charge, and hope for the best. Yeah, these Dalian Paladins will make short work of any foes that approach him. Combined with that killer crossbow fire, aye, it looks like the defenders have a real fighting chance here. Very close though. If they could make this goblin body rout, this is where most of the enemy's numbers are. There's a few skirmishers and a few archers and maybe even a few crossbowmen lending what support they can, but it's this goblin bulk here. These halberds are holding the line, really becoming dependent on these orcs of Gundabad. I'm really hoping that Apollo and the allies win, not because they're Dale and Dwarf and their best buds, but because, you know, it's such an intense battle, and it's nice to see the defenders win for a change without the use of our towers. The Khazad Reclaimers certainly making their mark heard though, and the Warg Riders now returning to tie up these Dwarven crossbowmen. Although Dwarf crossbowmen, while not as good as their melee counterparts, cannot be counted out as a good infantry. They may refuse to use those shields on their back, but as you can see on those quality of axes, they're going to kill. If the Misty Mountains general, however, does fall, that could be a problem. Because these Goblin Halberds could rout, and that has a massive impact. And these Dalian Paladins don't look like they're slacking. Even the Temple Inquisitors, who charged in to flank, are now suffering. Like, yeah, they killed one, but look how many Temple Inquisitors fell. Khazad Reclaimers joining the fray, and these poor wargs, you know, being used as meat shields, but now they're being hunted down, trying to find and kill off these dwarfs, which, you know, these guys can actually afford to do. Their crossbowmen are engaged by the Guardians of Karen Doom, and the Dalesmen are quite easily holding up to the halberds. But now, you know, these wargs are getting themselves in a corner. They're trying to rush to keep it, then they realize, oh crap, there's a door, we can't get through it. And now they're going to try and get past this small, thin line of dwarfs. But you know, now Azog's stuck. He's like, oh no, I killed Billy Conley. Now what? These Dalesmen, they're after Billy Conley for his jokes, not for his body. As you can see. Oh, the Nazgul has fallen. A massive stroke to the enemy. That is going to have detrimental impact. Oh, and Azog fallen. Oh, 2 general deaths in such short succession could be bad for the enemy. Oh, well, actually strengthen their morale. How about that? Oh no, the King of Dale just fell due to a cowardly war charge, but he was quickly avenged. So I guess that's a good thing. Everyone's general is dead. And the last few units are just some crossbowmen lending their fire. So the defenders are really holding up well with their last few remaining elites. Just really being bitterly fought, but as soon as these Goblin Halberds fall, and if the Snaga don't use their javelins sooner rather than later, then they're going to be in a problem. But of course, oh, I forgot the crossbowmen. The crossbowmen of Apollo are still alive, fighting off these guardians, these scourge raiders. And the reclaimers just really trying to shut up Paradox's cavalry. Shagoff's Dalian paladins may be exceptionally tough, but even they are vulnerable to rear charges. Of course, if these wargs get stuck into the melee, they are screwed. Yeah, cavalry charges are still a bit strong. Like, I don't mind cavalry chargers doing that much damage, but it's the fact that they can just cycle round infantry a lot. Wait, what's this? Ooh, the Dalian paladins are now switching out for... Oh, never mind. I thought the Dalian paladins were going to switch out for the dwarfs. But it looks like they've just opted to the strategy of... Oh, very risky move there, Shagoff. Charging the enemy cavalry head-on. Whilst the Dalian paladins are to be feared, they're still needed for the battle to come. So it looks like Shagoff and Apollo have adopted the desperate strategy of charging the wargs when the wargs charge them to get a counter charge off. It would be better advised with the dwarfs, because these Khazad reclaimers have just recently joined the battle. Whilst these Dalesmen, oh, well, they're only wounded. So they can pursue some Ironfoot pikemen who are just broken, and some javelins and crossbow bolts being thrown. That cavalry, though, still holding strong, and the last dwarven crossbowman falls, or last two rather. But as you can see, these Khazad reclaimers, this battle is very close indeed. Whilst the allies have fallen significantly, their quality of troops is outstanding. These last few men are guaranteed to fight to the death for their beloved city in the middle of nowhere. This last warg rider, though, causing problems, killing paladins when possible. I really do hope the defenders win. But that one warg rider, I don't like him. Like, he's so cocky, he's like, look at me, I'm on top of a wolf. I'm cost effective. This is not because medieval 2 mechanics allow me to do this. I mean, surely, these Dalesmen could reply in the time that cavalry responds. Like, look, that guy walks up, but doesn't even get hit because of how fast that warg is. Wait, what's this? I thought they were around the Guardians counted him. Killed an entire unit of crossbows, so good for them. I'm back again, dwarfs. Guess what? Oh, can you fucking shut up? I know. I've been recording. Oh, he didn't get the blow off. Ah, please tell me that's not how they won a timer victory. Oh, never mind. It looks like this warg rider has finally met his end. Of course, after killing another paladin. So good for him. Good for him. That was a unit of 20 paladins, and he killed about 12. Which, you know, considering wargs are about 400 in-game, that's pretty damn impressive. Paladins cost about 1,200. So, that's well above the punching weight. And these halberds still holding on to the end. They'll just hold for a while. Some Khazad reclaimers have already made their way over to the Snaga, just really hitting them when possible. But these Snaga with their javelins can cause quite a few problems for the last few Khazad reclaimers. So really, what cost the defenders early on was how they dealt with these outskirts by not supporting one another, by stretching out their numbers. But they still made a good comeback around here until the breaches were formed and they were just isolated again. Oh, but the paladins did break the halberds at long last. So this means that it could be the end of the battle. The last few reclaimers, quite literally walking 5,000 corpses over the enemy to get these crossbowmen. And the Dalian paladins, quite angry over that warg rider, are seeking to prove their might. Just trying to find any relatives of the warg rider and mutilate him with their mauls. You know, one could say that they went clubbing. Yes, quaint clubbing. Clubbing some Snaga. I mean, this is the only type of clubbing I approve. Well done, Shagoff. I hope those paladins got a nice rest. The reclaimers just really hammering into these. I mean, it was a good damn battle. Very close. Well done to defenders for... Wait a minute. Ah, okay. I thought that unit was like, oh no, is it another unit of trolls that they've been hitting this entire time? Thankfully it isn't. But the defenders narrowly with their teeth holding on to the end. It was a vicious battle, but certainly Apollo's crossbowmen and really the Alvari, the Khazad-dûm card taking that initial charge, causing all that damage. And then the use of offensive units near the end was a good strategy to make up for the earlier mistakes here and here. They really, if you wanted to fight, it should have been like just a light defense here, but really concentrating on the street fighting over here. So that way, if Apollo fell, then Dale could easily reply and use these walls for archer support. Of course, that's just my theory. This battle is over an hour and 15 minutes. I just want it to be over. Warfare is a scary thing. Many people die. But in video games, it's probably the best way to deal with aggression. Oh look, the Snagga's running. And you know what happens when Snagga runs? Paladins. So once again, dwarfs and men, hand in hand, just slaughtering some poorly armored goblins. Oh look, I feel an intense duel coming on here. This one goblin challenging that reclaimer. Who will win? Oh, what's this? Oh, that reclaimer suddenly gaining the ability to go on stilts. Looks to be a very fierce battle. The paladin might join. Oh, but that reclaimer took a hit. Oh, but that goblin parried somehow with his sheer mental prowess. Oh, the reclaimer blocked. Oh, is this battle going to be done? Oh, I gotta go for dinner soon. It's 11 o'clock at night, so I'm having a really late Chinese. Hopefully. No. I have just been confirmed by my family member that there will be no late Chinese for me. For it will disrupt my dogs. Damn it. It's really bang on that Chinese. Oh, and it looks like the battle is over. The reclaimer killed this goblin definitely before they rallied, thus inspiring his comrades for victory. So after some very fierce... Wait, what the... Oh my god. He's still alive. So in conclusion, Sagoth and Apollo did well. As you can see, the colors really do match out here. I'm going to have to work on that later. But, you know, it kind of matches the day. These are all Apollo's kills, so you may pause and gaze in his honorable glory and do the maths. But as you can see, a lot of the defenders dead. Well, actually, after healing, they have quite a good number of men left. And don't understand how the healing mechanic works in Med 2, but it always seems to be like cheaper units can recover better than others. So weird. But yeah, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to see your videos of, or rather your battles on my videos, then please just email me a replay or send it over to Discord, because I'll probably pay attention for Discord. So don't forget to comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I will see you next time.